So welcome to the part of the video where I'm going to be going through the most interesting optimizations, which includes time saves and dash saves. And most interesting does not mean that it saves the most time, it just means that it uses the most interesting strategies, in my opinion. So obviously there are a lot more time saves than I'm going to be going through in this part, but this is only those that are most interesting. So I'm going to get started here in this room, which is where I made my first improvement to this task, and which is kind of what inspired me to keep going with the rest of the task to keep saving time. So by hypering into this room and clipping past this jump through here, I'm able to jump all the way to the wall while crouched. Previously the strategy was just to jump off the jump through there and do an upright demo to end up on this wall crouched. But this is a lot faster, and I think it saved about 58 frames. And yeah. So next I'm going to be talking about a nice little trick in this room, which saves collecting the dash crystal that's currently in the middle of the screen. So the task takes the left path in this room because it's much more efficient in terms of dash saves than the right path. But previously you had to collect that dash crystal because you would run out of stamina and not be able to climb the spike wall at the end without it. But by using the traffic block here, using the one frame in which I can be inside of its hitbox, I'm able to do a wall boost here and get 138 stamina off of it, which actually gives me enough stamina to make it all the way up here just barely without running out of stamina. So that saved a pretty decent amount of time, probably about half a second. So we're going to be skipping over 1,000 meters here because it doesn't actually have too many interesting time saves. And next I'm going to talk about this room, which is the second room in 1,500 meters. So the beginning starts out the same, however, here instead of dashing up over the top of the dust bunnies in front of me, I instead do a hyper bunny hop, and I'm just barely able to squeeze through them there and make it out the other side. And here I'm holding left so I can align properly for this next part, where I clip past this corner crouched and jump and can just barely dodge that dust bunny and make it all the way to this platform over here. So that saved 72 frames, I believe, which is a really decent amount of time. Alright, so this room I also saved a bunch of time in. So initially I saved enough time by demo dashing under here that I was able to get over this dust bunny, and I couldn't quite make it under this cycle where it's coming down without landing very low on the wall over here. But as you can see, I obviously have made it now. So I spent quite a while trying to save just a couple frames in the beginning because that was really all I needed. And what turned out to make the difference was actually clipping forward on these ceilings just to push me forward, and that ended up saving like 5 or 6 frames, which was plenty. So I was able to clear that dust bunny there with plenty of room and skip a couple of these cycles at the end from what was done previously. Welcome to 2,000 meters. 2,000 meters has the most time saved by far. In fact, it's probably twice as much as any other section except maybe 3,000 meters. I haven't actually done the math. But to get started here, it's a simple 6-frame hyper B hop here. The any percent TAS does this, and previously it would just use one dash to get to that bubble, so it doesn't waste any more dashes, and it saved a pretty good amount of time. And also I added that nice reverse corner boost at the end to make it all the way over here out of the bubble. So here's the biggest time save in my optimizations by far. It beats out any other time save by over 100 frames. Credit to MaceRock9 for the idea, although we both spent a while tasking it and couldn't get it to work, and then the next day I got up and spent about 2 hours in the morning making it work, and it saves 283 frames, which is just under 5 seconds, so it's a very large amount of time. I'm actually going to go through the original strat first before going through this. So the initial strat that was here before did a hyper B hop at the beginning to make it all the way to the wall, although it might not be easy to perform RTA. So they would make it to this wall in just one dash, and then here, I'm going to set a save state. By doing that, you're able to make it to the spring in just 2 dashes, and then here at the end, with a nice corner boost, I can make it all the way to the wall with 1 more dash. So in total, that uses 4 dashes to make it across this room. So that was what I had to work with, and that's what I did. So instead of using all of the dashes in that room, I start off with a reverse hyper b-hop here, and then a nice ultra there, a couple of corner boosts, a second ultra here, and with that ultra you can jump all the way, do a reverse corner boost off the place with the spring on it, crouch past this, and jump, and just barely make it to the wall. And that saved by far the most time. Here it is in full speed. It uses the same number of dashes. And the trick between getting this to work and pretty much what took me 2 hours to figure out was actually jumping early here, so I could clip past this corner, which I have so much speed that you can clip from very far out, and also dashing early so I could clip past that corner, which worked out very well in my favor. The subpixels couldn't have been any better there for me. If they had been worse, it might not have ended up working at all, which would have been unfortunate, but I'm glad that I managed to get this to work at the end because it's a massive time save. So next I'm going to be covering this room, which, while not that interesting, does have the second largest time save out of all of my optimizations. And that's because I managed to skip a cycle by optimizing the beginning a pretty significant amount. So the snowballs are crucial to the end of this if you're trying to do it dashless, because you have to use them to get over the spikes. So I actually beat this cycle by a very large amount by saving a ton of time in the beginning. And to use that, by doing that, I was able to save 159 frames. And I suppose we'll just go into the next room because this is the next place that I wanted to cover. In fact, this room, the previous room, and the one before it with the tons of speed were actually the 3 biggest time saves in all of my optimizations. So that's pretty interesting that they happen to be back to back like that. So here, I move the block much less because it moves slower horizontally when you are moving it. So that, I don't know if that actually ended up saving time because I did redo this whole room. This is the most important part of the TAS. Here, Marlin does a little dance on top of the pole. That's probably the most important change that I made overall. I actually ended up sacrificing a little bit of time here to dance for longer, although it doesn't matter in the end because we do wait for the block anyway. And here, I am able to move the block down to the right position, get a quadruple corner boost off here, and just barely squeeze through these spikes there with a nice bunch of coyote frames and a jump and make it to this wall. And in this room, I managed to save, I think, 93 frames. So here we are in door skip room. Now, unfortunately, in order to optimize this, I did have to sacrifice skipping one of the doors in order to save a pretty significant amount of time. And I know that because of that, I am actually legally required to throw this TAS in the trash and delete all copies of it from my machine. But that's too bad because it saved 83 frames, and so I'm just going to have to hide from the police for now while they try to find me. So by hitting this button up here instead to open the door, which is illegal, I'm able to jump off this door and do a reverse bunny hop there, a 6-frame hyper b-hop, and that allows me to jump through these spinners here and do 2 more dashes to get to the end. And this didn't save any dashes, it's just a lot faster. So yeah, it's too bad that this TAS is now invalid and I have to get rid of it, but this does save 83 frames. So checkpoint 13, where I am now, is the checkpoint where I managed to save a dash. So previously this used 7 dashes, now it only uses 6. The first one is to go through those spikes there. The second one, or the second 2, are used to get over to the spring. One more to get up to this wall. You can jump around there. Now the previous strat would actually dash upwards right here to collect the coin, and then collect the coin in the middle, and then dash to the right over to that wall over there. And then use one final dash to get up to the gate at the end. I'm able to just dash to this wall, use one more dash to get up to this gate, and now here I'm able to actually collect this coin, and because of the upwind, just barely make it back. This is a very precise trick. And then I do some subpixel manipulation there that's really stupid and raises me up by 0.06 pixels, which saves 1 frame, like much later on in the TAS, but that's not important. The important thing is that I managed to save a dash by jumping from there, collecting the coin, and making it right back onto the gate where you can make it up to the end. So checkpoint 3 is the checkpoint with the dash save by CreepyCat. All credit to them for the idea and execution of this. However, this is the first time it has been tasked. So this first dash is the only one now used in the checkpoint. You dash over to that feather, and now here, instead of taking this feather up to the top and using it to get to the end where you would need one more dash, you actually take it to the wall, and by jumping and collecting this feather a lot higher, you have enough distance here at the end to make it actually by a pretty significant amount all the way to the wall, so it's not even really that close. So yeah. And here in checkpoint 2 is actually the last thing I wanted to cover here. I do a hyper b-hop here instead of the previous strat, which was to just walk along there and use 3 dashes to get up. Because by doing a hyper b-hop, I'm able to be at my max jump height here. And then doing 2 dashes is enough to get up there. I don't think there's any other way to be at your max jump height there other than using a dash, so you do need to use 3 dashes there still to get up. However, it's much faster to do the hyper b-hop than just to dash 3 times upwards. So here we are at the end of the video, on top of Summit. I just wanted to say thanks for watching this far. This TAS, this is the first big TAS project I've actually undertook, and it was a much larger undertaking than I initially expected when I started. It took me a couple weeks actually overall, although I did end up working on it rather slow because I was burnt out by the end, because I spent so long on it. But that being said, I'm glad I did it. I learned a ton during this. When I started, I was a really bad TASer, but I've improved quite a bit since then. And I was able to save around just under 25 seconds, which is a very large amount of time for a TAS. And also that includes 2 dashes, credit to CreepyCat for one. So thanks to CreepyCat, thanks to MassRock9 for helping me with a couple things and helping me fix desyncs and make sure the file was in much better shape than it was before. And also saving over a second himself, I believe. So yeah, thanks for watching.